Welcome to the Midland Money Mindset. This is a podcast that's all about getting your mind right when it comes to all things money. In every episode, we go deep with engaging guests who provide tangible takeaways and a whole lot of joy along the way. I hope you enjoy these conversations as much as I enjoyed having them. Let's dive into today's show. Well, I have the pleasure today of being with John and Mark Cronin, the co-founders of John's Crazy Socks. And I am so excited to introduce them to you all and have an amazing conversation. Welcome to the show, Mark and John.
Thank you so much, Larry. I'm really happy. I really appreciate I'm on this podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us on the show, Larry.
Awesome. So, listen, Mark, can we start out with you? Can you tell us a little bit about, who Mark, you, and who your son John is, and kind of what, we'll be talking a lot about John's Crazy Socks, but what got you to this point?
Oh, well, all right. So I'm the dad. I am an entrepreneur, so started many businesses. John is my son, my youngest of three. And what can I tell you about John? You're an entrepreneur, right?
Yes, I am.
And now you're a sock tycoon.
Yes, I am.
You are a public speaker. You do a lot of
Yes, I
public
am.
speaking.
I'm speaking now.
You are speaking now, yes. You're a philanthropist.
Yes, I am.
You're an athlete.
Yes, I am.
22 years in the Special Olympics.
Yes,
You're
I
a
do.
dancer.
I am a dancer.
And you happen to have Down syndrome.
Yes, I am. I have Down syndrome. Down syndrome, and nothing will hold me back.
So, and that's relevant, Larry, because John is all these things. And the Down syndrome is just part of it. It doesn't define him, it doesn't limit him. It is relevant to why we've created John's Crazy Socks. You have two sons, right?
Mm-hmm.
You raise those kids. We're always trying to promote their independence. We're always trying to make sure that they have a way of developing their own lives. And the reality is, for people with Down syndrome, or more generally people with a different ability, there aren't always those great options for people. And sometimes they got to create their own.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we wound up, we could tell you the story, but that's how we wound up creating John's Crazy Socks.
Now, Mark, I get the sense that you had an entrepreneurial spirit before John's Crazy Socks. You were kind of an entrepreneur from the very beginning.
I spent much of my career in the healthcare field, setting up and running different healthcare programs. And out here in Suffolk County, County. Oh, back in the 1990s, set up and ran something called the Suffolk Health Plan, which was a Medicaid HMO owned by the county. So I set up organizations there, but also set up and ran some software companies. It's something I've noticed in John. After the fact, even before I had language, I could go back and look at things I was doing in high school and in college. I didn't have the language for it,
Right.
but they were highly entrepreneurial.
Right.
Not always the most noble things, running keg parties in college.
Hey, listen, the owners of Tao Group were once promoters for clubs on Long Island. So, and
there you go.
their company's worth $1 billion plus. So, it doesn't have to be, selling products. So, John, maybe you could share with me also, for you,
Yeah.
what does it mean to you to be an entrepreneur?
I love being a entrepreneur because I like having more people like a short my colleague can do, and we hire with different abilities, and they go they are one something can do, showing possibilities and create more job, create, create more job, and create more content.
Right. Okay. And maybe Mark, you can share, how did the, or maybe both of you could kind of chime in here. How did John's Crazy Socks come to be? It seems like you both have this entrepreneurial passion inside of you. You want you mentioned earlier, Mark, you want your son to be independent, right? How does John's Crazy Socks even come to be? How does that happen?
Well, let's see. Got to go back to the fall of 2016,
Yes.
and our story starts in a small log cabin in the woods. No, no,
No.
no. It starts here on suburban Long Island. And where were you, buddy?
I was at a Huntington High School. I go be my last year of school.
So here's something, Larry. Some of your listeners will know. If you have a disability, you can stay in the school system until you turn 21
Hmm.
or until you graduate, whichever comes first. So it's going to be John's last year of school. And he's like everybody else, trying to figure out what comes next.
Right.
And what were you looking at, John?
I look at job, program, and school. I can't find crayons that I don't like.
Couldn't find anything I liked. He had worked for me before in an office. Um, and this is an unfortunate reality. Only 1 in 5 people with a disability are employed in this country.
Oh.
It's awful.
Hmm.
But John here is a natural entrepreneur.
Yes, I
If you
am.
didn't see a job you wanted, what were you going to do?
I want to create one. I want to make one. I told my dad I want to go into a business with with my father because
So think
my fathers have been together.
think about it, Larry. How would you like it if one of your sons came to you and said, "I want to go into business with you"?
I'll tell you
Uh,
right now, just hearing John say that honestly gave me chills. I would love it.
Yes.
I mean, I may love the idea of it, but it may be a little painful at first. But
well,
it's something you got to work through, right?
I am fortunate. Of my 3 sons, this is one I could work with.
Thank you, Dad. I am.
but but okay, there we are. We're going to go into business together. You got to come up with an idea. What are we going to do? What type of business? And you've worked with entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs have lots of ideas.
Sure.
They're not all good ideas. Um, what was one of your ideas, John?
Uh, One idea is a food truck. I have an idea from the movie called Chef. One of the actor named John Favreau.
Okay.
It's a neat movie. A movie about a father and son buying a food truck.
So a food truck.
Hmm.
That seemed like a neat idea. And we're
But
thinking, what could we make? Where would we put it? But we ran into a problem.
we can't cook.
Yeah. But then, right before Thanksgiving, the U.S. Thanksgiving, John had his Eureka moment. What'd you tell me, buddy?
Um, I, we can cook.
No, you said we want to sell socks,
Oh,
right?
I was saying, I said I want to sell crazy socks.
Hmm.
Why socks are fun and colorful and creative? It's always let me be me. I want crazy socks my whole life. We drove around, we drove around a look those socks.
We drove around, we used to drive around looking for
Right.
socks.
Sure.
So we figured this. If John loved them that much, surely other people would too. And we could find those people. Um, so that's where the idea came
Awesome.
from.
Awesome.
You know,
So let
and
me
we
ask
got
you.
started.
I got to ask you
Yeah.
because you get very hyped up, John, about socks. So I know that
Yes.
this all started because of your love of socks, which is fantastic. I love socks too. Maybe not as much as you, but I do love them. I got to ask you, what are your favorite ones?
My favorite pair of socks is a down room superhero socks with a cape the back fly away. It's really cool socks I've ever seen. If you look that sock, dinosaur favorite socks, my face, my mug on a sock.
Yes, it's a superhero that looks like John.
Do you have
Yes.
do you have a cape or no cape?
Uh, yes, yes,
Well,
yes, that cape.
Okay.
he has and
That's
he
my
has an alter
favorite.
ego. We
That
should
was
have
my
brought
next
photos.
question. You beat me to it. I was going
Oh,
to ask you, what's the name of the superhero?
Sockman,
Sock man and sock guys.
There you go.
the
There you go.
Sockman.
Oh man. So Mark, you kind of alluded to it earlier, right? You know, it's like, as I mentioned, as a father of two boys myself, and you kind of put it on me as well. What did it feel like? Forget about all the challenges from a business standpoint, but what did it feel like when John said, I want to go into business with my father because I love my dad so much? I mean,
Well, how awesome, right?
right. Yeah.
And it's so great to be able to do things with my
Yeah,
son and to share the experiences we've had. I mean, we've been incredibly fortunate. We've testified twice before the U.S. Congress.
it's
To be
very cool.
sitting there next to my son doing this, how awesome! Um, but it's not always that way. I do have three sons. Our middle guy worked with us for a while. Um,
My brother named Jamie.
Okay.
yeah, and that didn't last, which was good. Because if we kept working together, you were going to find us both in a pool of blood on the floor with like axes in our heads. I love them dearly,
Right.
but
Yeah.
family business is not always the right fit.
Oh, I get it. I tell my boys all the time, because my boys, I've one in college and one a senior in high school, and I tell them all the time, I'm like, if this is something you want to do before you come work here, you're going to go work for somebody else. Get your proverbial teeth kicked in by somebody else, because I love you too much to do this right off the jump, because I want to have, at the end of the day, a solid relationship with you. So
Yeah, it helps to we work when our partners are street partners, our strategic partners, are family business, and that was a rule. You can come work with me, but you got to work elsewhere first.
right.
So you have some comparison, some sense.
Yeah.
Um,
So
it's
my understanding is that John's Crazy Socks donates 5% of its earnings to Special Olympics. Now, after
Yes.
hearing about John, I don't like assuming, but being that he's the athlete he is and probably participates, I'm assuming that's where the affiliation comes. But maybe not. Was that the only impetus there, or were there other drivers that led you to do that?
no, that's it. How long you been doing Special Olympics, Sean?
I'm doing a Special Olympic 22 years ago, and the first sport is a very first sport 20 years ago. I only play in soccer.
What do you play now?
I was 5 years old.
What sports do you play now?
Right now, I'm playing basketball, track and field, soccer, and snowshoe. It's really cool that my father. I'm going to be with my dad. It's really cool. My dad is a coach, a snowshoe coach.
Partially by default, but Larry, we
Yes,
saw what Special Olympics meant for John and for so many others. Many of our colleagues are Special Olympic athletes. Um, we'll tell you, if there was no Special Olympics, there'd be no John's Crazy Socks.
right.
Interesting.
So from day one, we've pledged 5% of our earnings to the Special Olympics. And we do other products and other special events to raise money for them. Um, so here's a pretty cool thing. We've now donated over $150,000 to the Special Olympics, which is more than any Special Olympic athlete has ever donated.
Amazing. Amazing. That's powerful. Think about all the impact you've had, right?
We're very
Yes.
fortunate.
That's amazing. So let's talk about this for a minute. Tomorrow, March 21st, is World Down Syndrome Day. And I know that that is very important to both of you. So maybe first, can you share with our listeners what World Down Syndrome Day is, why it's March 21st, and then we could talk about your involvement, maybe tie in your involvement at the UN during the World Down Syndrome Day conference as well.
Well, the United Nations declared March 21st to be World Down Syndrome Day as a day to celebrate people with Down syndrome, celebrate their achievements, their accomplishments. It's March 21st because Down syndrome is caused by having three 21st chromosomes, right? All of us humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes. People with Down syndrome, people like John, you got a little bit extra, right, buddy?
Right.
I'm an
You know,
actor love.
extra
Yeah.
love, that extra 21st chromosome. So this started in 2012, but now there are all sorts of celebrations. So, among the things we've done this year, we've worked with Down Syndrome International and the National Down Syndrome Society to create the official crazy sock for World Down Syndrome Day because people celebrate World Down Syndrome Day by wearing crazy socks. Tomorrow, we're going to be on Capitol Hill meeting with legislators. Uh, Last year, we were at the United Nations uh, speaking, addressing uh, a conference at the United Nations. So it's a big day to, a lot of schools will celebrate the day, companies will celebrate the day. Um,
And
it's
what
a
are you guys, particularly, being John has Down syndrome, right? And this is a company and a family effort. What are you guys looking to get out of, speaking in front of the UN and supporting and promoting World Down Syndrome Day?
well, listen, part of our mission is to show what people with different abilities can do, right? We have five pillars. What's the first and most important pillar, John?
The most very pillar is that uh, I'll give it
What's the
back.
very first one?
It's
Inspiration,
in help.
inspiration, and hope. So we start with John. Right? You have Down syndrome, but we don't hide John in the back. You're the face of the business.
Mhm.
Yes, I am.
We hire people. So more than half of our colleagues have a differing ability. But that's not enough. You want to show the world. And we do it by sharing content. We host tours in our operations. We've had more than 2,000 people come through on tours. We host work groups from schools and social service agencies so people can both get a taste of work, but see other people like them working. We do a lot of speaking engagements. So we travel the country um, speaking, keynote speakers at conferences, corporate events. Already, here we are in March already this year. We've been to Maryland, to Nashville, to Indiana, um, speaking at conferences. And now we're down in Washington, D.C. Tomorrow we'll be in Washington, D.C. Uh, and we do advocacy work, meeting with
Amazing.
elected officials. And it's all part of that. Let's show what people can do.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a minute because John mentioned earlier, right? One of the reasons why he wanted to start John's Crazy Socks was to help employ people. And you said that you wanted to help employ people who have differing abilities, right, John? So
Yes.
I think that you guys are a really great business lesson in inclusive hiring, right? So, John, why is number one for you, John? Why is it so important that you hire people with differing abilities?
It's very plain how it different different abilities and I have I have I have how hard work as they are and how hard work they have done and they're showing possibilities and we have a mission we have a mission called Spring Happiness.
And that's
I
part
see
of that is
Spring Happiness is our mission, and make our customers happy, and I make my colleagues happy too, and we all are showing possible.
Amazing.
so.
Well, John, do you know,
Larry,
if I could
well,
for just a second,
yeah,
John,
yeah.
you know what
Yeah.
our tagline for the Midland Money Mindset is?
Um.
You probably don't,
I
but
don't.
that's okay. I'll share it with you. Our
Sure.
tagline, we're all about joy here. And you'll hear in a minute because I'm going to ask you, what did you do today that brought you joy? So I think joy and happiness go, hand in hand. So I think we're very much aligned in that regard. And Mark, I would ask you, how can other businesses learn from you and incorporate the lessons you've learned with regard to hiring people with differing abilities? Because I think it's important. Like you said earlier, what, 1 in 5 are working,
Only 1 in 5 are employed. So
5 are not working.
I used to think we needed to create more jobs for people with different abilities. I think that's wrong. I think the jobs are there. We just need to recognize people can do them.
Hmm.
So, at our place, much of what we do, we run our own fulfillment. If we have an online business, johnscrazysocks.com. Orders come in, you got to pick them, pack them, send them out. It's a boom business um, here on Long Island, but across the country. Warehouses are a boom business springing up. Well, over our 7 years, we've hired from 3 different labor pools people with different abilities, moms. There are some dads in there, but we schedule people in 4 hour shifts. It's not heavy lifting. You come in, put your kid in the bus, come in, work, go home, pick your kid on the bus. And then general laborers that want to start over $16 an hour. By far, the best labor pool for us are people with different abilities. And I'm hearing all the time from employers, oh, I can't find enough good workers. Where am I going to get people? Well, we have this great untapped resource. And you just have to be able to see how they can do the work. And be clear, it's not altruism, it's good business.
Hmm.
If you get to know us, you'll find out that John there, he's a very nice guy. I am not. If you're going to work for us, you got to produce. And so, us hiring people with different abilities gives us a competitive advantage. When others can't get orders out on time or are paying overtime, we have plenty of workers and we're able to get the work done.
That's great. That's great. So, John, your socks have been worn by celebrities, public figures, a lot of famous people, right? Are there any stories? I don't know if John could share one, or John and Mark. Are there any stories that have touched you from people who have worn your socks that they've shared with you?
Uh, it touched me that makes me very happy. I I I I walk around
Well, John,
and
there was a president that wore your socks. Which president was that?
oh um I saw W. Bush.
President Bush, Bush the elder,
Okay.
right? And you became sock buddies with him, right?
It did.
Remember that? You sent him socks?
Yes.
What'd he send you?
Uh, he sent me. He sent me a nice family letter and sent me a USO socks.
He sent you socks.
Nice.
So back in the spring of 2017, we saw that the former president, we saw an article saying he liked to wear crazy, colorful socks. And what do you say, John? You were there like, we should send him some
I
socks.
was sending him socks.
John says that a lot.
Did you send the ones with your face on it?
Oh yes.
and, and a little while later, his office called and said the president really liked him. Could he get more? We sent him more socks. Then he sent John socks. Then he started tweeting out pictures of him wearing John socks, including those superhero socks. And it was a connection between the two.
Sure.
It was President Bush who signed the Americans with Disabilities Act. which changed the world for millions of people and made John's Crazy Socks possible. And then, when Barbara Bush passed away, his office called and said the president and the family want to wear socks to honor her commitment to literacy. We sent socks. Um, the day of her funeral, he wasn't talking to the press. The only the only communication he had was he tweeted out a picture of the socks he was wearing. Um, so we turned those into a charity sock raising money for her foundation.
Amazing.
But that was pretty cool, huh, John?
Yeah, I feel good, Dad.
But you've had other people wearing your socks. Who's your favorite comedian who wears your socks?
Oh, yeah, my favorite comedian, Chris Rose.
Chris Roach and Kevin James, right?
Kevin James.
Oh, I
Right,
just saw
he's wearing
Kevin
your
James a
socks.
few months ago at the Paramount, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
He's been there a bunch of times. But we've had lots of other celebrities, other presidents, Prime Minister Trudeau in Canada wearing the socks. Our favorite story is there's a rumor that Bob Dylan was wearing our socks when he picked up his Nobel Prize. Now, we started that rumor, but he hasn't denied it.
That's funny. That's funny. So Mark, I got to ask you, and John too, if you want to chime in, what advice
Yeah.
because we want to talk to entrepreneurs, we want to talk to people who are having an impact on their communities, starting businesses like you talked about, John, employing people. What advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs, especially those who are aiming to create a business with a strong social mission? Because I think that's something we hear a lot about recently. But what advice do you have to them or for them?
Dad,
Well,
you start.
first, to take action.
Yeah.
Stop thinking about it and go and take action. There's never a perfect time. You'll never get everything all right. Um, just go and take action. And that social cause, I think there's a fundamental shift going on. I hope there is. Back in the 1960s, Milton Friedman, the economist who wound up heading the Federal Reserve, declared that corporations, companies had a single obligation, and that was to their shareholders. And I think that's when things started going wrong. Because in fact, we have an obligation to all of our stakeholders, our employees, our customers, our community, the environment, as well as our owners, our shareholders. That's much more sustainable. Um, and businesses, I think we're beginning to recognize now, entrepreneurs and the businesses we create have a profound impact on the world around us.
Absolutely.
So, if you're employing people, you don't, if you're a small business and say, oh, you have 10 employees, you may have 10 employees, but that's 10 families
Right.
that you're touching. And that's people that are then engaged in the community and spending in the community. And you have a role in the community. Think of that impact.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other side, I think consumers are increasingly asking, before I give you my money, who are you? Right? And if you have the cheapest product, you will always have a customer.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't, how do you stand out? And customers are asking, who are you? How do you treat your employees? How do you treat the environment? How do you treat the community? Why should I give you my money? Yes, you've got to have a great product. Yes, you've got to have great service. But what else is there?
I agree.
And John, you always have advice for entrepreneurs, don't you?
You did you. Follow your heart, follow your dreams, work hard, so you can do.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing
Thank
that.
you.
Great stuff. So listen, like I said earlier, I gave you a little bit of a preview. We're all about joy on the Midland Money Mindset. So I'm going to give you each an opportunity to answer this one last final question. And that is, what did you do today that brought you joy and put you in the right mindset for success?
What brought you joy today, John? Was it given that tour you gave?
Um, I I enjoy every day, and I give it tours, and I sing. And my favorite part is enjoying about seeing customers, and I love they sharing about good things about me, how I have how I success, because that make me so happy. And I really cool, Larry, my dad, he the one, he the one of approving me, and he always give me praise. And I ask him questions, and I something I don't know, I something I understand. He as a guy, he understood, he understood my strengths, and he was proving me all the time. I how he become and learn all of the time. I'm so happy. I'm enjoy it.
That's amazing.
And and I do make sure you put the garbage out at night.
Yes, I do.
It's we're so incredibly fortunate to get to do what we do, to come in and just see the jobs we've been able to create and the happiness with people there. Here's a little thing we do. Many of our colleagues, this is their first job. So when they get their first paycheck, we have a little ceremony to present them with their first paycheck. But just this morning, I was on the phone with a family that's looking to start a business. They saw what John was able to do, and they want to do that with their son who has autism, to give him a future. Um, the ability to be able to maybe spark something in other people and help other people on that journey. That's a lot of joy.
That's amazing. Well, listen, I am grateful for this time that I've had to speak with you, Mark, and get to know you a little bit better. And definitely talking to you, John. It's been.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that we've gotten this time to share. And I'm a big fan, and I'm a big proponent of what you're doing. And if there's anything we can do to support you, we're all for it. I love what you're doing over there, and keep up the good work, and keep
Thank
following
you.
those dreams that you have. Now, Mark,
John?
we're gonna have all the information for John's Crazy Socks in our show notes. But if
Oh,
people
okay.
want to learn more about you guys, learn more about the story, what's the easiest and the best place for them to go and do that?
Where can they find us, John?
Um, you can find us at johnscrazysocks.com. And you
John,
o- johnscrazysocks.com.
johnscrazysocks.com.
And
We're on
check,
all
yeah,
the social
sorry.
media platforms. John, I know you got like 65,000 TikTok followers. Um, but Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, we have hundreds of videos. Um, and if you go there, at the bottom, you see links for tours and
Sure.
speaking engagements. Every Tuesday afternoon, what do you host, John?
I heard it. I heard it on a dance party.
You
Ah,
host an online dance party. What better way to spread happiness
yeah, you could get
when you get
TikTok,
customers
very
back?
good TikTok content too, right?
Yeah,
Lots of that. So, and people can reach out on LinkedIn if they want to talk individually with us.
Amazing. Well, gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure. I appreciate it, and I appreciate your time, and enjoy your day.
Thank you for having us on.
thank you so much.